We are charting the higher octave with my guest, Brandon Isleib. Say it right? Okay,
Yes.
great. All right. From, and he's the founder of his project called Restless Mosaic. And welcome to the show, Brandon.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, we were just talking earlier about your connection to Hawaii. You were born here.
Yet, yes,
Um,
I was.
and you were almost Friday the 13th born.
Yeah, that was my due date, but I stayed in an extra 5 days. I
That's good.
I
That's really funny.
I've not been known for wanting to leave places once I'm settled, so I started that trend early.
That's a really good connection when you tell me I was I was born in Hawaii and I was almost born Friday the 13th. I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay, so that's the connection." No, besides being the amazing Virgo that you are, Virgos are, I have a lot of strong Virgo friends all over, I have a lot there's a lot of Virgos I know for some reason. Virgos just seem to gravitate to to me. But but thank you for joining me and talking a little bit about your music and upcoming album that's going to be released on the 7th. Is that still the set date?
That is still the date. Yes.
It's called Quality Mirrors. That's the name of the full album. And I know
Uh,
you've released some certain singles already. And this is a collaboration with Anji Bee from Lovespirals.
yes. For
Love
those for
Spirals.
those for those watching the video, um, my shirt is a printout of how the song Quality Mirrors looks in Studio One. You'll see this in the occasional promo photo as well. So this is a title track T-shirt.
Ah,
Uh, so
title
I did,
t-shirt. Okay. Oh, interesting, huh?
yeah, I just figured that was a little bit of a nice meta detail for the interview.
The song Love Within This Time. Can you tell us a little bit? I watched the video. It's an
Hmm.
interesting one. And
Well, thank you.
it said the settings in an elevator.
Yes.
Yeah. So why did you pick that particular shot or that particular video?
So so Lost Within This Time uh started with the music.
Hmm.
In I think it was October of 2022. My wife and I stayed in a hotel, and its one elevator was just incredibly musically interesting. It it made these strange, creepy noises, and every time you went up and down it, it made a different set of noises, which is its own type of unsettling. So I hurriedly got a wave sampler app on my phone. My wife
Oh.
put one on as well. And we just took multiple trips up and down that elevator, capturing different things within that audio. Uh,
Huh.
I sat on that for a while, not knowing what to do with it. Then I had bought a little bit of Lovespirals Downwards music, and then in the summer of 2023, um, Lovespirals Downwards reissued their classic album Flux as a
Hmm.
25th anniversary edition. They did a vinyl remaster, all that sort of thing. So I went to the Bandcamp listening party, and that's when I met Anji Bee and Ryan Lum for the first time. And it was a lovely event, and uh, it came up independently of me, but I'm the type who normally brings this up anyway. Um, their involvement with the old site mp3.com, the kind of late 90s, early 2000s era of internet music. I'm an aficionado and collector of a lot of things related to that. And Angie offered to sell me her beloved mp3.com messenger bag that the
Oh.
site gave her. So after the Bandcamp listening party, we were negotiating that. It's one of my bags I bring to work on the regular now. But as I was exploring more for own work, I realized, she's worked in a variety of genres and with a variety of people. She's gone far afield, and so as Lovespirals in general. There could be some kind of collaboration here. So I started asking about that. And where I was initially going with the track was a sort of 80s synth jazz version of 2000s goth metal. So like if you take the sort of double tap kick that you think of in like Epica or Evanescence or that era, but I was going to take it into 80s instrumentation to take more advantage of the kind of jazzy bluesy side of Angie's vocals throughout her career. So I was working on that, and Angie was coming up with lyrics for that. She was receptive to that.
Mhm.
As I was making that, it I noticed that what I was making, just kind of tempo wise, was lining up with those elevator samples.
Oh, really? Wow.
So I tried them out, and they really became the foundation of the song suddenly. And I
Oh,
thought those were going to give Angie a lot of space for her vocals, but she actually chose the more 80s synth side that I had been drafting as the main place she wanted to put her vocals. So I rearranged the song, and through that it morphed into this kind of three-part mini epic that she did a great job cohering lyrically. But at the bottom of this, it was tied into all of these elevator concepts. So from there, coming up with the music video became okay. Angie lives on the other side of the country vertically from me.
mm-hmm.
What story can I come up with that gets her in the music video while also taking advantage of the fact that I can barely act and doesn't need a lot of props and that sort of thing. I work for the city of Seattle, so I'm used to speaking government. I live in the city of Everett, so I contacted Everett government saying, "Hey, do you know of an elevator bay I could film in?" And a lot of speaking government is telling them, "You won't need to clean up after me." So I listed all the props in this sort of thing. So the story I made is that Angie, in essence, plays a photo ghost. She haunts a concert poster, and through signage, she lures me into an elevator and eventually translates me into the poster to replace her. But yeah, we got to film in Everett-owned building. They haven't gotten to use for about 20 years.
Really?
If,
That
if I
elevator?
if the entire office building,
Oh,
it
because the elevator works so perfectly well, I think, from what I could see in the
oh
video.
oh, absolutely.
Oh,
It was the city's idea. When I said the vibe I was going for, they said, "Well, we've got this abandoned office building that we're not using for anything." And they gave me a tour of the office. And it
oh wow.
honestly, with the furniture still in place and the various signage, there are fonts in that building that you haven't seen since 1993. It sort of looks like a rapture happened in about 1994. So
Oh,
yeah, the whole building still has like green carpet from back then and
oh
that nice wood paneling. So it was perfect ambience. And my producer and I just got to set up in there for a weekend. They opened the building to us and we got to do whatever we wanted for a half day for
yeah.
free. So yeah, we were very pleased with
Oh, that's
getting to
good.
see
At
that
least you got
space.
the permission. I mean, could, were you looking for a particular type of elevator, like something or a different time period? Were you trying to get a different that kind of vibe?
Well, basically yes.
Okay.
To an extent, as an independent artist on the budget I had, I would have taken what I could have gotten. But certainly given the 80s instrumentation, given the haunted vibe that I was going for, very much a
Mm,
sort of construction time again, some great reward Depeche Mode era soundscape in terms of what those elevators actually sound like, that kind of industrial meets electronic
mm.
vibe. So the older the better when it came to the elevator. Just if you could envision that elevator existed around the time of the sounds I was choosing, perfect.
Oh, okay. When you were shooting that elevator, were you recording also the sound at the time of that? You when you were shooting the elevator, were you recording the sound in that elevator as well?
We recorded no sound on the day of filming. What we did is we mapped out timestamps to correspond
Mm,
to the shots because the main thing was that every time the door closes and then opens, the face Angie's face in the poster changes. So that's how we convey that she's alive in the poster?
Ah.
So that needed to be timed to the song, but we played the song and wrote out timestamps beforehand, and we just had a bunch of different posters made. I had gotten Angie to record about 30 seconds of video from which we took stills. Uh,
Oh.
my my instructions to her to kind of send up a campy horror vibe was uh, imagine making monster faces at an 8-year-old nephew. That that was my one stage direction, so to speak.
Uh,
And she spent 5 hours on hair and makeup. She used her wedding dress because of
oh.
the high neckline, she said. So she really wanted to send up a little bit of a Victorian goth vibe to her ghost character. But she brought a lot of depth, and she had made for promotional purposes an edit of some of her own footage, and that constitutes most of the first minute of the video. It's intercut with me walking past the elevator,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I was noticing that you were wearing a jacket that has some word on it with a comet.
yes, that is just of my existing wardrobe what my producer picked out.
Oh,
The Kenosha Comets are, if you're familiar with the movie and storyline of A League of Their Own,
yeah.
the Kenosha Comets were another team in that league, along with the Rockford Peaches and several other
Okay.
post-World War II uh, women baseball teams. That just is my windbreaker. I used to be a baseball columnist, so having historical baseball items goes with my overall aesthetic. And it was just a sharp enough jacket with enough visual detail that my producer picked it. It's not otherwise connected to the story, other than it's just it helps with the palette, I think.
Yeah, I mean it kind of gives that that what do you call it? The space kind of unpredictable
I
thing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see what you mean. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think of it
Comet,
as
you know.
there's kind of an austerity palette wise that goes well with an older abandoned office building.
Yeah, there's something that really I mean, it's too bad you couldn't use the elevator that was making the weird sound when you and your wife were going in there recording.
Yeah, I'm curious. I certainly have mentioned in the Bandcamp liner notes which hotel it is. I'm curious if they'll ever find out.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, the hotel where you and your do you oh you were giving hints?
I if the hotel ever Googles themselves, they might return my Bandcamp liner notes saying I sampled them. Until
Oh,
they do, they might never know that
yeah,
that
yeah.
I created a single out of their elevator, which quite frankly they need to repair. It's got to scare the customers. But maybe they've repaired it since then. But until then, I'm happy to have
I mean,
turned in.
was it an old elevator?
I just it it looks younger than the elevator I filmed in,
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
but I mean it's a quality inn. Quality inns never truly seem new in
Uh-huh.
my experience. They all seem to be dated to just sometime before you were born. That that seems to be the quality inn vibe in any quality inn I've been to.
So this whole album was written. So you wrote the music and Angie Bee wrote the lyrics.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a good collaboration.
Yes, it was my first it was the first time turning the keys over lyrically to anyone else. Um
Mhm.
I hadn't done a lot of lyrics in the Restless Mosaic project to this point, but certainly figuring out what could work in my vibe. I'm happy to say that really everything in making this song cohere from its disparate sonic elements and writing lyrics that fit into the overall album. I benefited so much from Angie B's experience
I know it's a
and
beautiful
guidance.
song. Definitely a beautiful song. And I noticed too, like I was mentioning, Ryan Lum is also somehow part of this album, right?
Yes, because they, as a married couple, are Love Spirals, and I've described his role as audio glitter. As Angie told me everything that he exactly did, but it was largely she chose basic plug-in effects for her vocals, and he swapped them out for kind of more robust versions
Mm.
of the same thing, more refined versions of what she had already produced. That's most of what he did on it.
But how many tracks are in this album? Let me see.
11.
Oh, 11. This was the first release, and then how many are you releasing? I know this, well, this the seventh is one more week. Are you releasing one?
Uh, yeah. We brought out a very Delerium Neurodisc Records kind of song called "Circling the Canopies" that I sing on.
Oh, I was gonna ask you that. Who's the voice in there? I heard another voice. So okay,
Uh,
that's you. Okay.
Yep. I'm the primary vocalist on this album, but I have four guests. I have my friend Nick Merchant, who sings on the opening track called "Song One Is a Lie." Uh, it's a song telling you that generally speaking, album previews should start with the second song because song one has too many potential purposes to be
No, that's
reliably
funny.
indicative of an album. So we lay out the arguments for why you shouldn't listen to this song first, and I put it as song one. That's my kind of meta humor. That's my friend Nick's as well. Angie is the second guest vocalist. I have Grammy-nominated executive producer Declaim rapping for me on a song called Poet of the Mic. And we've turned that into an entire other album where he liked my instrumental back catalog enough that he did a series of poetry raps over that. We're label shopping for that at the moment. I finished that mastering a month ago. And last and definitely not least, my good friend and fellow PR client, Rosa Limo, is I I guess you would say duetting with me. We take different parts of a longer song called Nearest Pool of Chaos. Um, that is very rooted in 1996 electronica. Just somehow
Oh.
all the influences I came up with released everything in 1996. So there's a bit of Underworld and there's a bit of Faithless in there. That that kind of era. But otherwise, I'm singing. There are also two instrumental tracks to throw in there.
And I like how you come up with, I mean, you have a little explanation here about how you came up with Restless Mosaic, the word itself, and how it has to have the intricacy and structure to be a whole. You take them apart, and then it loses their structure, I guess you can say.
Yes, I wanted to emphasize
That's
structural
true.
intricacy, but I also wanted to give that sense of wanting to go out and explore. The primary concept in my head is, say you were walking through a plaza and there were some tiles on the floor. They formed something nice. If that were sentient, it would want to engage with all the people engaging with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the sense that I wanted to give. And ultimately, I skip around genres a lot. That is that is part of my calling card, but it is as far as I can tell, this has been echoed in press reviews of prior albums as well. Um, Use of arrangement, consistent use of buildup and layers and song structure is how I cohere my albums when I'm hopping genres. And thankfully that has been felt by a lot of reviewers. So I'm very happy that my albums have felt coherent and that they have a flow to them because I am, sometimes going into this kind of Parliament Funkadelic space with Declaim. I'm going to this Underworld Faithless space
Mm-hmm.
with Rosa Limo, but even that has a Deftones component to it. And I'm going into Delerium and Bluestone on my own, and then I'm going to this kind of 80s jazz infused industrial synth pop with Anji. So I go to a number of disparate places, but it's to an extent discipline in the arrangement and very extreme intentionality in those aspects that that mean it sounds like an album rather than that I'm just indecisive.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect title, a perfect name for you, Restless Mosaic. I like that.
Well, thank you.
So, tell us a little bit how you started. I mean, when was this, and how did it all began?
Um, uh, Restless Mosaic is about a 5-year-old project. I've been making music since, well, forever. My first recordings are from 2001. I was 15. Uh, they exist in real audio because Cakewalk Home Studio wouldn't let you export to MP3 without an upgrade fee because of whatever institution held it. So I made music for a long time under a different guise, but really I didn't know how to take it seriously. Then just before the pandemic, uh, uh, a few things happened. The one of the big ones was that in 2019, I had I'll say 1-on-2 meeting with a BT, the legendary electronic producer, and Christian Burns. They had a side project called All Hail the Silence. They were opening for Howard Jones on tour. And BT's also
Oh,
produced
okay.
some of Howard Jones and was his keyboardist on on tour. And they had something that was I thought it was going to be approximately the vibe of a book signing, a paid meet and greet session before the concert. Um, it turned out I was the only attendee. So I had them to myself for an hour. And at this point, I'd made like 1.5 songs in 7 years. I thought my time in music was done. But in talking to them and really keeping up with them when I expected that I was going to be just blown away by these professional, accomplished musicians that I respect a lot, um, it was clear that I had something left in the tank and I just didn't know what it was. Then a bit later, some producers who offer tutorials online and are successful in Western pop and K-pop, they just found me on Twitter and I started watching their tutorials. And it was
Oh,
kind of putting the
really?
bug in me and
Mhm.
seeing that things were feasible in the 2020s music making landscape that were not feasible for me when I was younger. Then the pandemic hit, and uh, those producers with the tutorials started offering consultation sessions online because they couldn't bring anyone into the studio anymore. They were looking for a different revenue stream. So I cashed out of some other hobbies I was in part to just have some money for whatever was happening with COVID, but in part to get this consultation with them saying, I'm thinking of getting back into music for realsies. Do you think my description of like where my headspace is that a real musician? Is there a real musician in there? And if so, what should I get in order to go down that road? And they didn't put a foot wrong with their advice in terms of just kind of what to get and what to get me up to speed. And I hired them again for listening parties for my first and second albums. So they guided a lot of kind of my branding, USP, that kind of thoughts from a professional perspective. So that's so the Restless Mosaic project is about 5 years old,
Mhm.
but that's that's how I got here.
Yeah, no, it's a great collaboration. Been a fan of Love Spirals and Love Spirals Downward. So I'm so glad that. And then when I saw her name, I'm like, oh, I should do an interview with her as well. So I'm gonna be talking with her next week as well. So I'm looking
She's
forward to that.
she's such a gracious person. It has been an honor uh, to work with her. She's a very giving person.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you guys connected. This was a while ago, right? When you said you were doing you're in the listening what is it? What's it called? The
A
listening.
listening party.
Yeah, the listening party. And this was
That
a
was July
while.
2023. Um,
Oh,
and we worked on the song largely from October 2023 to April 2024. The video shoot took a long time. Uh, in terms of the city securing the venue, my producer got COVID and had some other ailments, and Adobe software products slowed down production. But the
oh.
song itself has been completed. The album has been completed since late April of last year. So it's about 6 months of musical collaboration with Angie, and she filmed her parts for the video in April 2024 as well.
And you guys were doing it separated. I mean, separate in two different places, right?
We haven't met.
Oh, what,
We
really?
haven't,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we haven't spoken on the phone. It's all been email.
Oh my gosh. You guys got to meet.
I know, I agree, but yeah,
Oh.
hopefully that'll happen someday. If nothing else, I'll go
No,
down
but
to the
have
Los
you done
Angeles
like a
area.
Zoom call or something?
We've not done a Zoom call yet.
Oh my God. Really? Oh yeah, you got to go meet her before I meet her.
Well, the race is on.
No, you should do that. Just talk to her. Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely want to.
Yeah.
Um, but they're very busy with not only Love Spirals, but they're
Yeah, I
quite
know.
successful, happy, healthy vegan YouTube channel. I believe that is their primary endeavor, and then Love Spirals is there along with it. Um, but yes, the Flux 25th anniversary listening party was, I think, July of 2023.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's the
So
anniversary party.
yep,
Okay. Well, and where was the listening party?
Bandcamp.
Oh, I missed it. Didn't know about it, but okay. Well, I'm looking forward to talking with her and about this as well because I think it's very interesting. I see it's just it's really interesting how you took that elevator concept because and then you're telling me that she lives over there and you live over here. So if you take the elevator and you turn the elevator this way, right?
Mhm.
Instead of that way, then you can reach her from the elevator. Just joking. Just joking.
I,
I mean, I've always imagined going into the elevator one day, like, how we have AI now, everything is so advanced. I could just imagine somebody going in the elevator and pressing the button and say, I'm going to a different time zone. And then
I
you take
mean,
the elevator
no,
to a different time zone. That's possible. And
no,
it is possible. I mean,
number one, I would enjoy that.
and
Uh,
me too.
no, no, number two, I've certainly entertained thoughts of wanting to travel places via pneumatic tube. The kind of the thing, the things at the bank that you send your deposit up in and it goes shoo,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
that's,
that.
that's similar concept. I mean,
Yeah,
we had Star Trek, right? Back in the I don't know if
yeah.
you like Star
I,
Trek, but people would go on the beam and they say, "Beam me up now," and then they just go out of the wherever they go to a different world. And
I, I,
so,
I feel it's also very Jetsons.
yeah,
Same, same era. I didn't watch much of the Jetsons when I was a kid, but
I mean,
I have this vague memory if that's roughly how George Jetson traveled to work and back.
yeah, well, yeah, he goes on that thing and then he goes, "Toot," and then he rides on this flying car, which we will probably have very, very soon. It's like a flying spaceship, and it takes you over there, and then everybody gets on, "Toot, toot, 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 toot," and then you just go. Yeah, it's interesting how they come up with these, and then robots, the maid
Oh
was
yeah,
yeah. So
but
it's
yeah,
I was just
picking up on the sonic details of these things, I pay a lot more attention to sound in elevators now. That's
yeah,
that's for
I'm
sure.
gonna do the same because you're right. I mean, I it's interesting how you and your wife would go into the elevator several times and ride the elevator so you can record it, right? And
Yes.
a lot of people will not do that because people will try to avoid elevators if they got stuck in one. So how many floors was
Well,
that?
I want to say it was a three floor
Oh, okay, not too bad.
building. But
Okay,
I also recorded a lot of just standing there and taking in sounds because for instance, this didn't make it into the song, but the fluorescent lighting
ah,
above sounded a whole lot like a bug zapper. And
hmm.
it was putting out an E and a D sharp that would have made it would make a great
So
bass line, a
there
great
was
buzzy
lighting
bass
there.
line for someone
Yeah.
to kind of wah, 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 wah. It was nice and rhythmic. It just didn't fit into what I was doing. But my wife is working on a career in screenwriting, and she's had like horror shorts
You
produced and
know,
things like that. So she's up for a good haunting environment, period. And that helped bring her in
but
involvement wise, I think.
that elevator might have been that wherever that place is might have been haunted.
I we had a friend we saw the same weekend,
Mhm.
and she door dashes to that hotel. And when we told her, is this creepy elevator, she knew immediately what we were talking about. She was like, "Oh yeah, that elevator's crazy." So like even with one of our friends who was local to the area, that elevator had a reputation.
Well, if you're telling me about lights and the lights were flickering, then yeah, that's some spirit of some kind, energy.
Yeah, yeah. That buzzy pulsating noise really, yeah, you could build some modern pop or EDM around just that noise separately from the other things
Uh,
uh, I've recorded. I've said on the Bandcamp single link that if anyone who buys the single wants the entirety of the samples from that elevator, I am happy to send those,
oh,
and
okay.
they're free for anyone who wants to use them. So if someone is that interested, capital T, that interested, I'm happy to send the full recordings because really, this song is four loops of various aspects of it, but it's minutes of things to pull out. But I barely altered those samples, to be honest. Like, I
Oh,
mean, I
really?
put some EQ on them and I pitched one
So,
to be on key with the
where
rest
are the
of it, but
samples? Where are the samples now?
they're just with me
Oh,
on
okay,
my
okay,
hard
okay.
drive, but I would
They're not at Bandcamp.
there if you buy the single and then email me, or quite frankly at this point you could just email me saying I want the samples, I would give a EG a Google Drive link
Oh,
to those
okay.
samples for anyone so
I,
interested.
I might want that sample.
Yeah.
I would love to listen to it because I mean, I like ghostly tunes, so I'll take a listen.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be happy to send that to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. I mean, I've never had anybody before, tell me about what you just did. So that's amazing. And
In what way? I mean,
I mean,
what what
I mean, a
what's
lot of
new
people
that I divulged?
just recording the sample of
Oh
this
yes.
that's unique in its own way because usually people run away and they'll say, "Oh my God, I don't want that." Let's get the heck out of this elevator. Something might happen to us. But no, you guys kept going in and out of the elevator, recording the soundscapes and then making it into this. And so that's quite interesting.
Well, I'm
Did you ever go back to the elevator? I mean, to that haunted elevator?
have not been back, but I will note here because this adds to the lore. Um, the night that my producer Jennifer and I were finishing up the music video, where she believed she had a finished version, and I just needed to bless it. Um, it was a storm was brewing as I was driving down to North Seattle to her apartment to check it out. Um, as we were watching the video on her laptop, the first run through that I had seen of the completed video, the power went out and stayed out
Oh yeah, there we
for
go.
quite some time in the area. We were able to go out and do some other things. When we came back, one of the main intersections on the way back, in about 5 minutes of being stopped at that intersection, the traffic lights went from working to not working and back like 5 times, which was highly dangerous because
Uh-huh.
I was about to go in a green light, and suddenly it became flashing red. And we did get into our apartment complex a different way because a downed tree blocked the entire width of the main road. Places in Seattle lost power for like 24 hours off this windstorm, but it started while watching this video.
Isn't that eerie?
Oh, absolutely. But of course, we had been working on this for months. So to
Yeah.
us, we were
Yeah,
we were
all
we
of
were
it.
happy to add to the mystique of what we were working on.
Yeah. So are you gonna do another one, something similar to this in the future?
I would absolutely love to. Um,
Another soundscape?
yeah, absolutely. I'm not an inherent sound designer the
So
way a lot of
can
the
I
sort
ask
of
you how
geniuses are
yeah,
thought of.
can I ask how did you record that? With what device were you using to record those soundscapes?
Just our cell phones.
Just a cell phone. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You picked it up?
Yeah,
Really well.
yeah, it was a Pixel
It must,
6
it must have
for
been really
me.
loud.
Uh, um, I moved it around a bit to get closer to specific sounds. So like for the fluorescent lights that had the buzzing, I held the phone above my head. But
Oh,
uh, but yeah, a Pixel 6, that's an older Pixel by now, but it picks up from pretty far away.
oh,
And yeah, I'm very pleased. But yeah, that was real relative to musicians. That's some lo-fi equipment.
oh. Well, it's a nice piece that you put together here. So
Thank you.
we're looking forward to the release on March 7th, which is in a few days from now, next weekend, right?
Yeah, it's
Weekend.
Friday.
Yeah, so I'll be speaking with her on the 9th. So right after it says 2 days after the release. And Quality Mirrors is the name of the album. It's the full album. It's about 11 songs,
Mhm.
March 7th, and then you'll be releasing another single, you said, right?
At We already have Circling the Canopies up on Bandcamp.
Okay.
So you can listen to that there, but it will come out with the rest of the album. But I did briefly mention there is another album after this one
Oh.
that has been fully mastered, and that is my poetry rap collaboration with Declaim. But it's Poet of the Mic is on this album. It is also on the follow-up album, and the rest is him. I vocally produced him into my instrumental back catalog. He chose instrumentals he liked from all three of my albums, including the one that's about to come out, and he put himself in there. And I spent since I finished Quality Mirrors, I've spent from there till last month producing
Oh.
him for this album. So it's new material for him and a sort of remix album for me.
Hmm.
And he's working through his collection of labels because he's had 30 albums in 25 years. He's worked with everyone: Madlib, Flying Lotus, Aloe Black. Uh,
What's
when
the
he
name of the
exec
album?
So what?
What's the name of the album?
Our title for it is Restless Mosaic presents Declaims 10 Umbrellas for Your Soul.
Oh, okay. When are you releasing that one?
Whenever a label picks it up and decides that's when we're releasing it.
Oh, okay. We look forward to that.
It's
Oh.
it's really something because I'm working in genres that aren't normal for hip hop. So the genre hopping that I already do combined with his more kind of grounded 70s beat poet sense. If you want to think in kind of the Gil Scott Heron vibe,
Mm-hmm.
um, meshing that with my sounds produces something that I haven't heard before and he hasn't heard before either. The day I finished the masters, well, I say I finished the masters. I worked with Vincent Villouise. If you know Ultimate Records, they're
Mm-hmm.
a longtime Psychill label from France.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so any kind of that psychedelic ambient sound of the last 20 years, a lot of that comes from them. When I got the masters back, Declaim listened to the album 3 times in a row and just texted me saying we made magic. So he's really pumped, and for someone who's made as many albums as he has, and like I said, he's been to the Grammys because he worked on his wife's Grammy nominated album as an executive producer and things like that. So he's been everywhere, and for him to think this is fresh, uh,
That's good. Yeah, that's
I mean,
amazing.
if he says so, then he's right, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be glad to give you the sneak preview
Yeah, no, yeah,
on
thank
that
you.
one.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I won't share. Not, I'll
Right.
just, yeah. But
I trust you. You you
yeah,
would you wouldn't be who you are and where you are without being trustworthy.
oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Well,
No
thank
problem.
you you're such a pleasant person, and I really enjoy speaking with you, and good luck with this album, Quality Mirrors, out March 7th, and featuring so many various artists, including Anji Bee, who I'll be speaking with in next week from Lovespirals, and big shout out to Shameless Promotion PR, and uh,
Yes.
and good luck with your different adventures.
Yes, thank you. No, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for wanting to speak to me.
You're very welcome. All right.